I moved into my new apartment in downtown Portland in late November. It was the kind of place that felt small but safe. Brick walls, old wood floors, and a fire escape that overlooked the street. I'd just started a new job, and I wanted a quiet place to settle into my routine. Everything seemed normal. That first week I noticed a figure in the building across the street. At first it was just shadows, someone moving behind the curtains. I didn't think much of it. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe someone staying home early because of the winter chill. But slowly, I started noticing patterns. The blinds would twitch exactly when I walked by my window. A silhouette would pause and look directly at me. But as soon as I raised my head, it vanished. I told myself I was imagining things. Stress from the new job maybe. It wasn't until the second week that I started to realize it wasn't my imagination. I was working late one night, laptop open, coffee beside me, when I heard a soft knock. Tap, tap, tap. I thought it was the wind rattling the window. But then it came again. A rhythmic tapping, like someone was testing the glass. I froze. I walked over to the window, slowly, my heart hammering. Nothing. Just shadows, the street empty, cars parked along the curb. Then I noticed something. The figure across the street was there again, standing perfectly still, staring directly at my window. I blinked. They were gone. I tried to shake it off, maybe a trick of the light. Maybe my mind was overreacting. The next few days, it got worse. I started noticing signs of surveillance, small things. My keys would be moved slightly. The doormat shifted. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was just forgetful. But then I started getting notes. The first one was slipped under my door. I see you. No signature, no indication of who it was, just those 3 words. My stomach dropped. I locked all my doors and windows, double-checked the peephole, and tried to convince myself it was a prank. But the tapping at my window at night continued. Sometimes it was soft, sometimes deliberate, like someone tracing patterns in the glass. I began avoiding my apartment. Lunch breaks became walks in the park. I spent more time in coffee shops, offices, anywhere but home. It wasn't until I accidentally caught their reflection in a darkened window across the street that I realized. It was the same person every time. A man, mid-30s, unremarkable at first glance. Plain jacket, hat pulled low, but there was something in the way he watched. Patient, calculating, and cold. I began taking photos through my binoculars. The man didn't hide. He almost seemed to enjoy being seen. I mentioned it to my friend Caleb. "You're letting paranoia get to you," he said. "I'm not," I insisted. "I see him, every night." Caleb shrugged. "Just don't make it worse. Ignore him." I wanted to, I really did. But ignoring him made him bolder. It started subtly at first. The notes became longer, more personal. "Why do you leave your lights on at 10:42? You should sleep." "I worry." "You drink too much coffee. It isn't good for you." I realized he was watching me closely. Every movement, every habit. One night I stayed up, waiting, trying to catch him in the act. Around 11:30 p.m., the tapping began again. I grabbed a flashlight and shone it across the street. He was there, standing perfectly still. I swear he smiled at me. I felt a chill I can't describe. And in that moment I knew he had been planning, studying me. Maybe for weeks. I called the police. They came, checked the area. Nothing. The man had vanished, like he'd never been there. Over the next week, the stalking intensified. He started leaving items outside my door. A single glove, a burned matchstick, a photograph of my apartment entrance. Each one carefully placed, untraceable, but unmistakably meant for me. I began sleeping with a knife under my pillow, checking every lock, and watching the windows like a hawk. I stopped leaving my apartment at night. I avoided the street entirely. The police had no leads. "No one else has reported anything," they said. I realized then, he was clever, precise, patient. The psychological weight crushed me. I couldn't eat properly. I couldn't sleep. I felt trapped in my own home. And every time I looked across the street, he was watching. 2 weeks in, I was exhausted. I couldn't leave my apartment safely. I was losing myself to fear. I began setting up cameras, motion detectors, anything I could think of. One night, I heard something at my back door. Slow, deliberate footsteps. I grabbed the knife, hands shaking, heart pounding. The door rattled, then stopped. A shadow moved across the blinds. I called the police immediately. They came, searched, found nothing. I realized something terrifying. This wasn't about getting caught. This was about control. I wasn't being hunted for money or revenge. I was being hunted for fear itself. I knew I had to leave. I packed essentials in a single backpack, leaving almost everything else behind. I found a friend's apartment across town, willing to let me stay temporarily. The night I moved, I left a note on the front door. Loud music in my car. Headlights on. Anything to cover my movements. I made it across town without seeing him. For the first time in weeks, I slept. It's been years since then. I moved to another city, changed apartments, and tried to forget. But every time I see a man standing quietly across the street, or someone glancing too long at my window, I feel that chill. Every phone notification makes me jump. Every note left on my doorstep, I check twice. I survived. I escaped. But the psychological scar remains. I can never feel completely safe in a city. I can never forget the calm, deliberate patience of someone who watches, waits, and thrives on your fear. Even now I wonder, did he ever stop watching me, or did he simply move on to someone else? Some nights I swear I see him in the corner of my vision, and I know, even after all this time, he still controls me, silently, from somewhere across the city.